Hey everyone, today we are here with Matt Graves from American Powertrain. And I've known Matt in the industry for a few years now, working, previous work at an agency. So for anyone who doesn't know you, can you introduce yourself in your role?
Yeah, so I've been at American Powertrain now for about 15 years. I started out here as the marketing manager and kind of worked, through the company over the years, and now I'm pretty much marketing manager, commercial sales. I do product development, product management, car shows, kind of a jack of all trades here, master of none. So, we're but I really enjoy it. My previous career before here, I worked at Cherry Bomb Exhaust, so I've always kind of been under the car in the product lines that I work in. So I went from exhaust to transmission. So not a big transition, other than the products are a lot heavier now.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And so, was there something that sparked your love of cars going back?
Yeah, well, nobody in my family really was a car person, except for my grandfather Graves. I'll take that back. He was a paint and body guy, and but other than that, my dad really wasn't into cars, and it's just something I kind of gravitated to. I remember when I was really small, my mom had a Volkswagen Beetle, and I used to go out and open the engine cover or the trunk, over the engine, and just sit there and stare at the Volkswagen, four cylinder. And she was like, you would just stand there for like half hour looking at it, and then I would just be like little. So I guess it just kind of was. I was kind of born with being drawn to. I always liked mechanical things. When I was a kid, I'd take everything apart. I'd get something electronic and take it apart and tear it up and get yelled at. And I like tools and tinkering, and it just kind of evolved from there. And then my mom had remarried when I was like 10 years old, and my stepdad was a straight up car guy. So I got kind of a reinforcement. He was into Ford trucks big time, still is to this day. Uh, and he was like, had tractors, and, we had motorcycles and stuff. So yeah, growing up was always some kind of, you know, vehicle around that I got into. And so I don't know, it's just always kind of been in my blood. And now neither one of my kids are really into it either. So it's gonna it's gonna end with me, I guess. But my youngest one's starting to get more into cars now. She's turning 15 tomorrow, actually, and she's really excited about driving. My oldest wasn't very excited about driving, but my youngest one definitely is more excited about it and asks a lot of questions on how to take care of a car and things like that. So
So there's hope.
hopefully, yes, there's hope. There's hope. Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So there's always been some sort of automotive influence in your life. And how did that tie into working in the industry? What was your first role in automotive?
Well, going back again to my stepdad, he started out he was actually at Cherry Bomb, or the parent company was Merrimont Exhaust. So he had been there for 20 some odd years before I even started working there. So I was going to college, and he had told me that they had a second shift opening in the plant, because I was looking for some night shift work while I was going to school during the day. And he got me on down working on an assembly line. And I liked welding and stuff. Never really did a lot of welding other than playing around with a stick welder in his shop. And they stuck me right into a MIG welder line with no MIG welding experience at all the first day of working there. And
Good
I
luck.
I took to it. Well, it's strangely enough, I was very terrified about it for like a couple of days, and I took to it like a duck in water. Like it just became a thing. Like I got really good at MIG welding, and
Amazing.
I really enjoyed the kind of zen of sitting there welding exhaust flanges and all day long. And I really just kind of got into the whole vibe at that plant. I really liked watching the tube mill make exhaust tubing, and the muffler lines would spin these spun mufflers, and we had robot welders. It was just really cool. And there was an engineering lab there that did R&D, so they did all the design work. So they'd bring a car in, and they would scan the factory exhaust system, and we would build a replacement exhaust system. So if you went to a Meineke or a Midas and got a replacement exhaust system, that more than likely came from Merrimont back in the day, especially from the 90s to the early 2000s.
Very cool.
And in the plant, in the product line, we had the Cherry Bomb exhaust line, which went back to like 1968. Um, In fact, that was the one of the slogans that I came up with, and back when I worked there, was "Disturbing the Peace" since 1968. And
I
we
love
kind
that.
of, thank you. The brand was kind of not really well known in the 90s anymore. It was kind of big in the 70s and kind of just slid under the radar with Flowmaster and all the other big exhaust systems that were out at the time. So we decided to relaunch the brand in 2005, and that I kind of spearheaded that. But going back to starting working there, I decided that, man, I want to work in this R&D lab. I want to figure out how to get in there. And I was going to engineering school, really trying to get my foot in the door at the lab. And opening came up as basically just kind of an engineering assistant, and I got into that job and never looked back and worked my way up through the whole ranks of the company and really liked doing the design process of exhaust systems. And we had chassis dyno, engine dynos, and all this cool equipment. So I was there for 17 years. I walked in there just looking for a night job while I was going to college and wound up parking myself there for 17 years. So, if you're a car guy and you like mechanical things, that place was heaven. It really was. And it was like, why would I even want to leave, at the time. So, but, as all things must come to an end, economies change, companies get sold. And, when I first started working there was 900 people working there. By the time I left, we were down to 200.
Wow.
So some of the offshore stuff kicked in, and, things like that happened to us. But one door closes, another opens, and American Powertrain was right around the corner just a week later. So I've been there since 2011 now. So, but it's been a fun ride doing all this over the years. So I guess almost over 30 years now, which makes me feel very old to say
My
that.
goodness. Yeah, so was there like a key step that caused the transition between Cherry Bomb and American Powertrain?
Yeah, pretty much. The key step was my whole department got let go.
That's
Cherry
a big
bomb.
fun
So
step.
yeah, the company I had at the time decided to divest some of the brands, and and it was the end of the road for that at the time. So I had known Robert Hall, who started American Powertrain. I already knew him through some work we did together at Cherry Bomb, some products that we helped make for him at the time for some Jaguar stuff that he was doing. Robert had done come up with a Jaguar 5-speed kit for an E-Type, and that kind of planted the seeds to start American Powertrain. And he was a European car enthusiast. He's also a muscle car enthusiast, and he decided to branch what was called the Driven Man at the time into American Powertrain and do Camaro, Corvettes, Mustang kits, and all that stuff with Tremec transmissions. And he had started the company a couple of years before I came on board. It had grown to a pretty good size, but he was struggling with it to manage it. Needed a marketing manager, needed some help with websites and branding and things like that. And he knew that was kind of right up my alley. And as soon as he found out I was let go from Cherry Bomb, he was like, twist my arm to come work for him, and I did.
Scooped you up
So,
before anybody else could.
yep, yep, yep. So it's been a cool. It was took me a it was a different kind of industry for me, even though it's the same thing. But it was you had to learn. There was a lot of technical stuff selling transmissions, especially swapping them into all these different cars, learning the ins and outs of what fits what car, and you know how to get all the parts sorted out and stock all the parts, build a website around all that kind of stuff with kits and things like that. So it was a different animal I enjoyed the challenge of it, and it's still a challenge to this day, every day, doing these transmission kits. So yeah, but one of the things that I leaned into here was this is mostly manuals, right? So we're doing something that's kind of dying in the automotive world, is buying a manual equipped car with a
It's
manual transmission.
phasing out for sure.
Yeah, and it's kind of going back to selling these to guys to upgrade their old muscle cars, or even, I wouldn't say late model cars, but '90s, early 2000s cars. Now we're getting, we're doing Fox body Mustangs, G bodies, 94 and up Camaros. We're even doing the 2010 Camaros. We're doing, late model Mustangs. We can swap in some stuff with those. But, people still like to row their own gears. It's kind of part of the muscle car aurora, right? It's like having that white shifter ball or black shifter ball sticking up, that's kind of iconic. A lot of guys want to relive that whole thing from high school and having a manual transmission car. Again, kind of like Cherry Bomb, we lean in on the nostalgia sells, and people like, man, I've got when you open the door of their car, it's cool to have a car with a lot of power, but it's almost like a little bit of a cherry on top to see that stick in the interior. Like it's like an extra gold star for you, right? If you got a muscle car that's got a manual in it. Okay, this guy knows what he's doing, right? He knows how to drive. So it's a lot of fun being able to provide that product for people, and we kind of lean into that with our save the stick marketing campaign and all the apparel that we do and stuff like that. So it's just it's kind of a dream for me to do some of this stuff. So I really enjoy just being able to provide something like that and seeing how the market reacts to it and where it's going to go in the future. I don't know. I don't know how much longer we can keep putting sticks in cars, but right now there's not an end in sight to it. So we're going to keep doing it as long as we can.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something with the car shows that I hold and go to, I will be looking at a beautiful car and I look at the inside. For example, a newer Corvette. There's a guy who comes to my shows, newer Corvette. He even let me drive it. And I'm like, this is an automatic? It feels like a disservice to the car.
Yeah, yeah. I get what you're saying. I mean, and look, don't get me wrong. Like the C8 has an actual Tremec transmission in it, even though it's an automatic. It's actually what's called a DCT, so it's a dual clutch manual automatic. So it's instead of a torque converter and uh, clutch plates changing gears, you actually, if you open up that transmission, it looks like a manual, but it's got computers and electronics and servers doing all the shifting for you. You can't argue with the speed of. I mean, the thing shifts in like under 30 milliseconds. I mean, if they were to make a manual version of that car, the two side by side, there's no way
Couldn't keep up
you
with
would
it.
keep up with that DCT. So I understand the performance of the technology. I also think if they built a manual C8 Corvette, they would sell a ton of those,
I
even if
agree.
it's slower. It's just the interaction, right? It's being able just
Yeah.
to some analog driving. A sports car, you want to hear it, you want to smell it, you want to feel the clutch, you want to kick that clutch in. You want to grab second gear and chirp the tires, and it's all on how you drive it and all the minute inputs you make to it yourself. It gets kind of numb with the computer doing it for you, and I appreciate it. Like it's thrilling to drive. I've driven a C8, and it's amazing, right? The technology is amazing. And if I could afford one myself, I'd probably have one sitting in my driveway right now because it's really an amazing car. Um, but I still think that Chevrolet needs to build like a base model Corvette with cloth seats, rear engined. I don't need the big high powered engine. Just give me the regular LT motor, 450 horse with a stick. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I think they would sell a ton of those like that. Well, maybe not a ton,. If it's priced right. So
There's
it would be a
definitely a
neat
market
car.
for them, I think.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Oh man. So whenever you first transitioned over to, well, not even just your transition to American Powertrain, but your start at Bomb, is there something from your early days that sticks with you that kind of molded how you went about your experience in this industry? Like, is there something that stuck with you that you've carried this whole time?
Oh gosh, there's a bunch of those moments. I think. You know, being a car enthusiast and working as in the industry as a car enthusiast is kind of like a lot of pinch me moments happen. Especially when I first started traveling. Right. I travel a lot still. I traveled a whole lot back in the day. But doing all the car shows and things like that, I guess it was be I guess probably when I first went to SEMA, the first SEMA show I went to in like 2004 was kind of mind blowing. I mean, I'd done car shows at that point, but nothing like that, like nothing that level. Every moment I was there was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my, and just it was just all kind of like I get to do this every day. I get paid to do this every day, like and like the jealousy from my friends, like you're at SEMA now. It's like, yeah, I had to go SEMA again this year. I mean, after I've done like 20 some odd SEMAs, uh, but it's still special even today. It's not the same as that first time, but yeah, I'd say my first trip to SEMA was one of those moments. The second one, well, I don't really rank them high or low, but I'm just kind of, as I'm thinking about them, was probably like getting my foot in the door at Summit Racing and like getting our product line there and doing all that because it was a lot of work. Like to get into a big, I mean, I've got one sitting right here, because Summit Racing catalog, like, or JC Whitney, that was it. So I went, so if you guys remember JC Whitney, those of you out there that are my age probably remember JC Whitney.
I've heard of it.
That was that was the big catalog you got in the mail, right? Um, and they had so much stuff, and we sold so many cherry bombs through JC Whitney. So many, in fact, that I would go. Their headquarters was at the Sears Tower in Chicago, right? And I would go up there and meet with those guys, and they were like the greatest people. Like they had, and I remember my first trip up there, how much hospitality they had, and just being there in that building, like because JC Whitney was probably 100 years old at that point, or maybe a little less, but they were been around. I mean, been around a long time. It was kind of like the first parts accessory company, right, for cars. Now they're gone, or they got absorbed into whatever, private equity or whoever bought them out now. But I think it's Auto Geek now. It's like the
Okay.
skeletal remains of J.C. Whitney or something like that. I could be completely destroying that. I could be wrong. But, Summit Racing to me is the same. Like Summit Racing, we've all had, we all still get excited to get the Summit Racing catalog or Jegs or, I'm going to shout all of them out. Even, I know CJ Pony, if you're a Mustang guy, to get those catalogs back in the day, um, to be in those catalogs, to help do the work to get your product in that catalog. Now it's on the website. It doesn't hit the same, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like when I
Yeah.
first went, wow, I helped put Cherry Bomb in this catalog. I got my product in here. I did this
Yeah.
work. I did the photography. I did, I come up with the pricing. I did the spreadsheets. I did that was a big one for me. That was a proud moment in my career to just kind of achieve something like that.
Yeah.
And then, to meet some of your heroes, I've met Carol Shelby. I've met, obviously Stacy David and, all these different people over the years that, the guy, Dave McClellan was probably one of the big ones for me, the voice of the NHRA, if you remember that guy. I remember my second or third SEMA show coming up. He was in his little wheelchair thing driving around. He was because his legs were kind of bad then, and he interviewed me for Hot Rod TV at SEMA. The second year at SEMA, it was the second year. And he gets out of his little chair and sits up there on his stool, and I'm a nervous wreck. I had never done anything like this in my life. Like a TV moment in Hot Rod TV. He asked, "Hey, you want to come have an interview with him?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yes." So I'm sitting there, and we're not filming yet, and he's like starts asking me all these questions, and I'm like telling him stuff, and I'm like, why is he asking me this question or that question? And then when the interview starts, I realized the brilliance of his preparation. He was setting me up for these questions, right? He's like, what year did Cherry Bomb start? Tell us about, and his voice was just like so overwhelming. I just kind of sat there like a deer in
Started crushing.
headlights. Like, yeah, I was just so I'm being interviewed by Dave McClellan on Hot Rod TV at the SEMA show. What's happening? Where am I? So yeah, that was a big moment for me to go through that. There was another moment in time where we had Stacy David come to the Cherry Bomb plant and do this whole back history of Cherry Bomb. Another like pinch me moment that we were even doing this thing, right? So, and the other Probably the other in my, I'd say top five moments in my career was my first ad in Hot Rod Magazine. Like I designed it and put it in there and submitted it and got to open it and see it in the mail. And I was like, wow, you know. So
Yes.
yeah, there's a lot of, you know, because we all, as car people, and hate to see it nowadays because the media is kind of just not what it was, right? You know, there's the old thing where you would put an ad out in whatever car magazines, and then as soon as it hit the newsstand or the mailboxes, the next day was your sales spike, right? So let's say
Yes.
you got a new hot rod magazine on Sunday or in the mail Saturday, Monday morning we're waiting on the phone, right? Because you're looking through all the, you know, there could be a catalog piece in there or showing what products you
Yes.
got, or they're doing an editorial on your product line. You know, some of that sparkle's gone now because now everything's instant, right? As soon as you put a new product on, it's on your website right now.
Yep.
There's
You
no
get an
big
email about it.
fanfare. Yeah, there's no, you know, you do some PR on it, but it doesn't land the same, right? It's just not as, I don't know. I really do miss the magazine and catalog days. At the same time, I really embrace the electronic side of it too, and you have to. And I appreciate it as a user as well, having the internet and its vast wealth of resources,
Yes.
whether it's correct or not in most cases. But you, you know, as a car guy, this is a golden age of information right now. You know,
It is for
so
sure.
yeah. But
Yes.
there's my long answer to your question.
That's okay. I'm here for the long answers. Well, and you kind of
Yeah.
touched base on my next question, which was like, who were some of your biggest influences or maybe your mentors throughout your career?
Oh yeah. So I would say yeah, you know, probably there's a lot. I can't even, you know, and you know one of them is Zan Martin. Um, Me and Melanie both used to you know used to work for Zan, and she used to be Zan was a Martin and Company, an ad agency, right?
Yes.
And Melanie's previous life, that's where she came from, and I actually had her as our ad agency at Cherry Bomb for many years, and at American Powertrain. Zan had tons of experience, and it was to me, I was drawn to her as a woman that could navigate this very masculine environment.
Yes.
I really respected that about her. She really knew what she was doing, and she gave me tons of life advice, career advice, industry advice that I could never get from. I couldn't even replicate that again if I tried. So she's definitely one of my, you know, a big influence on my career, my life. Um, Stacy David was a big part of that. I got a lot of experience from him. There's just so many people. I mean, you know, all the people I've worked for over the years. You know, it just my stepdad. You know, without him, I probably wouldn't be here today. Without him getting me on at Cherry Bomb and pushing me, you know, helping me with the car stuff over the years and work on my cars, and you know, there's just I don't know. I can't even put out all the people that I can say thank you and take up 3 hours of your podcast probably. But it takes a village, right? We all have, you know, we all learn from people. We learn things, but 99.9% of it is you learning it from other people that's either experienced, broke it, burn it, destroyed it, or been successful with it. You know, I catch myself now in the role where I kind of dole out some advice to people, and I really go, but at the back of my mind going, probably shouldn't listen to me. But then I'm like, I guess somebody did listen to me. You know, I've done this for 30 years. So it is pretty neat to have, to kind of be the older guy now in the industry. I hate to say it, but that's kind of where I'm, you know, I'm going to be 53 this week. So it's just where I'm at. You know, hopefully I can guide some of the younger crowd around to navigate some of this stuff. But, you know, been so many people like Rick Love at Vintage Air. I mean, that guy, I mean, he always has great advice. Just, you know, just so many guys like that over the years, you know, Dave McClellan even. So it's just, you know, uh, just having, and I surround myself with a good group of automotive friends in the industry that I can't say enough about. One of them that's helped me back in the day was John Clark. John was used to work for Mopar, and he was like the kind of the brand manager of Mopar in the early 2000s. And we collaborated together on some builds with Cherry Bomb. And John had a lot of, you know, background, and but he was just like a straight up hot rodder in the, having to wear a tie every day, right? And kind of a caged animal at Mopar, but he breathed and lived high performance, and him helping me navigate some of the bigger things that we had to do at the time was a big thing. So he definitely in the top. He's in the top 10 of people who help my career over the years or influenced me to get where I'm at. So again, I'm leaving out so many people that I'll probably remember after this. But yeah, it's been, I wouldn't be here without people. You know, that's just
Yes.
what it is, right? So
Yeah, 1,000%. I understand exactly where you're coming from. And it's meeting those good people. And in the automotive world, there's so many of them
it's a
that
cheat
are,
code.
it, it is, they're like,
Yeah,
hey, you're great
to
too.
meet
I'm
that
so
right
glad
person, it's a cheat code. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that is incredible.
And you
And
never know. One of the reasons, one of the things you go to SEMA or you go to these car shows and stuff like that, you just never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to walk into your booth. I mean, there's so many times that I just can't believe that I had this chance conversation with this person, and next thing you know, they're a big customer, or I'm doing some kind of media collab with them, and it's like, what happened? It's just
yeah,
so cool to. You got to be there, right? You got to be there, and you got to make yourself present and be willing to talk to people. And my old boss used to say, people buy from people, not from brands, right? And that's kind of how I've just that's been my mantra since day one. After when he told me that, it just kind of like turned the light bulb on. Like it's all about relationships, especially this industry. It's having the right relationship with people can make or break your whole career. And I just I tell all the sales guys at American Powertrain and everybody that works there, I'm like, build a relationship with your customer. You may be irritated, but if that guy can call you at 9 o'clock at night and ask you something, that's a good thing, right?
yes.
So, if he, that's how close you could be with the customer, right? And I have a
Yeah.
lot of customers that will call me at 9 o'clock at night. Not all the time, but I take that call, and they've got a problem or I want to help them out. They're under a car or something like that. Bobby Alloway is another one. So Alloway is another. I don't know if you guys have heard. Alloway's a big, car builder. He won SEMA Battle of the Builders. He's done the Riddler. He lives
Yes.
about 6 or 7 miles from me, and I would go down there in the '90s. One of my good friends was his cousin, and he was working down as a body man down there, and I would go down and I wanted to learn some of the trade, right? So he didn't pay me or nothing. I would just go down there and just kind of be like extra help around the place in the evenings. And I learned a lot of car building stuff down there with him, but he would always tell me, I only use people that I trust and that I have a relationship with. He's like, and we to this day we are his transmission supplier for all his car builds. So and that goes back to me and Bobby having a relationship from the '90s. He's not.
Yeah.
He could call lots of other transmission companies and get his same stuff from those people, but he calls me, and that means a lot to me. And that he's not the only one that's like that. And that's just kind of how I've always been. Like I treat them as family or friends. My customers because they help feed my family, right? So
Right.
that's just how I look at it. And
Yeah.
again, I get paid to do this, so it's fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you forget you're working whenever you're having that much fun.
Yeah, I mean it's a career, right? It's your career. It's not really like, I got to get up at go to work. Yeah, there's some days like that when it's cold and you don't want to. You got a meeting or you got to work on a spreadsheet. Those kind of days aren't the greatest, but the good days usually outweigh those
Weigh
days.
them.
And the
Yeah.
successes, as long as you focus on, you're gonna have days that are a grind, but the days that are when everything's popping and working, you can't beat it. You just
Yeah.
can't beat the rush of it all. I loved going out and setting up for a car show on Friday and seeing all the people come through and going out to dinner at night and looking at people's cars. It's a lot of fun.
It
It's got a
is.
lot of rewards to it.
It does for sure. And sometimes there's challenges that you go through with that are often met with rewarding moments. And so was there a time that you faced a challenge in this industry that made you better at what you do today?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. there's been, well, I think my challenge was back in the day was getting laid off. The economy wasn't that great at the time. We survived the '08 crunch at Cherry Bomb, but we really never recovered from it. And a lot of people were downsizing or consolidating, shipping, outsourcing parts to save money. Um, I think that kind of made me realize that, you know, you can't always rely on what you think is going to be there every day. You got to rely on yourself, right? And even though you may be at a great company at the time, those things can radically change overnight. The economy can change, whatever can happen. You got COVID or whatever. You just have to be ready to retool your mind for the next thing sometimes, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I would think probably, you know, career changes, we've all had to go through it, are probably the one, is always a moment to reset, right? To reset how you got here and where you're going in the future. And use that moment as a learning experience, And so that's just kind of that was probably one of the moments where I go, oh no, what do I do now, right? I don't have a job. I have to feed my family, I have to do this. But
Yes.
I wasn't even really worried. I should have been worried about feeding my family, but it's more like, man, I don't want to work in anything but the automotive world. I don't want to go work at Home Depot or somewhere. That's what I was worried about. Like, oh man, I don't want
Yeah.
to get a job at a bank. Like that's not me.
Yes. I understand
You know.
completely.
So that was really the concern. It wasn't putting food on the table. It's like I don't want to have a non-cool job. You know. That was what I was more worried about than anything. Like, I don't want to be one of those people. I'm a
I
car guy. I
I
gotta work. I gotta
understand
make
it
car
completely.
parts. Or I gotta build cars or do something. So yeah, I, I,
Yes.
and I and then at that point's when I decided that's what I'm gonna do. No matter what happens, I'm just gonna stay in this and I will make it happen because that's
Yeah.
what makes me happy. And if you're not happy, it doesn't matter how much money you make or it really. I mean, that really is true. I mean, making money is great, right? It's nice, but if you're just miserable going to work every day, it's not worth it. It's really not. I mean,
Yes.
so trying to, and some days we all have to go. Or sometimes we have to go to work, and we're not doing what we want to do that day. That's part of the gig. But as long as you can, for the most part, do what you set out to do, it makes life a lot better. You know.
Yes. And it kind of changes like from, oh, I have to do this to like, oh, I get to do this. It makes you very excited to work.
Yeah, and I've said that 100 times now already here. Like I get paid to do this, so yeah, it's just I was at PRI last week, and I again performance racing industry show. It's like hardcore engines and race parts and suspension parts and all kinds of stuff. It's like SEMA kind of stripped down to the core.
Yes.
It's amazing, and I never get like I always get so excited to go to PRI. It's like one of my favorite trade shows. I like it honestly better than SEMA. SEMA's just huge and it's almost too big for its own. Like you just can't see it all and absorb it all. Whereas PRI, you can. It's a smaller convention center. It's in
More
Indianapolis and
manageable.
way more manageable. And again, I'm pinching myself walking around looking at an engine with 600 turbos on it or whatever. What is this? 3D printed parts and all this cool technology, and they've got all these welders there and CNC machines going, and I'm just like, I'm just a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just glad to be here.
Yes. Yes. And so I'm sorry, how long have you said you've been at American Powertrain?
I will be 14 years next June. I will be here 15 years. So
Yes.
June of 2026, I'll be here 15 years. So
Yeah, that's incredible. So you're at American Powertrain, and a lot of people know them as like the transmission people. But if you were to break that down even further, what would you say like is their true specialty?
it's going to be it's manual transmissions. Like that's our true specialty. It's converting your classic muscle car, hot rod, or truck to a manual transmission with overdrive. That's the core thing. We are a Tremec elite dealer, so we are one of Tremec's 12 or 11 elite distributors. The general public cannot buy directly from Tremec. They set up distributors across the country, and we're one of their larger distributors. Didn't start out that way, but now we are. So we will take a Tremec transmission. In some cases, we modify that transmission to fit the car. An example would be a C2 Corvette. A C2 Corvette, you can't put a 5 or 6 speed in that car without cutting the floor, the tunnel, or whatever. Well, most Corvette owners do not want to do that, right?
No.
So what we do is that we cut the transmission. So we design the transmission kits to fit the car with the minimal amount of modifications. And that's really at the core of what we do. You call us and say, man, I want to put a 5 speed or a 6 speed in this car, but I don't want to cut it a lot of stuff. I want to keep it looking factory original, and that's where we come in. That's really our specialty. We'll take the transmission and move the shifter around so it comes up in the right location. And 99% of what the kits we have, especially if the muscle cars had a 4-speed version of that car in the past, you will open the door of that car and it'll look just like the 4-speed car that the factory came out with, other than the 5-speed shift pattern on the ball, or we have seal plates. Like some Corvettes have the little seal plate on the center console with the pattern.
Yes.
We even have the T-handle replica on the Corvette with the springy T-handle. It doesn't do anything for reverse, but it still has the action. It looks, you can't tell if you look in that car that it's got a more modern transmission. So the big problem with the old 4 speeds is you didn't have any overdrive, right?
Yes.
So having a modern or a muscle car with a modern transmission, you could drive it a lot more. You can drive it at 70 miles an hour and keep up with traffic on the interstate, right?
Yeah.
I have a good friend of mine that's got an old C3 Corvette. It's kind of a rat rod, a beater Corvette. It's nothing original about it. He kind of built it out of like a hodgepodge. He had a frame and a body. Did a 5.3 LS swap on it, and he put a TKX in it. He drives it to work every day. It's just a beater, and he loves it so much. He's like, it's got Holley EFI. It's got an LS engine in it. It's got an overdrive transmission. He's got a 373 gear in the back, and he runs 75 miles an hour at 2200 RPM down the interstate.
Yeah. Today's conveniences.
Yeah, he's like, I get 18 miles to the gallon with that car. And he's like, he has like a full-size Chevy truck, a newer truck. He doesn't drive it.
It's
He
not
drives
as
that
fun.
car. It's not as fun, right? And he goes, I get up every morning excited to get in that car and drive it to work. I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, that's what we're after. Like, that's
That's
it.
what you
Like,
sell.
that's the vibe. Yeah, that's the vibe we're after. So, you know, but yeah, and it's not a cheap thing to do. An average transmission conversion kit can cost anywhere from $45,000 to $7,000, depending on what you need or how much power you've got. We have a wide range of options, right? So like if you've got a 69 Camaro, I can do a 5 or 6 speed. We can do a twin disc, a single disc. If you got a new LT4 with 700 horsepower, we can put something behind that. If you've got 1,000 horsepower, we can make it work with that too. There are some modifications required, so the prices obviously kind of go up. There's a scale, right? The higher the power, the more your wallet has to open, right? That's
Yeah.
just what it is. So you need heavier materials, thicker materials, stronger construction. We'll take a Tremec transmission and do what's called an extreme edition, and we take it apart and we do what's called rim polishing, where we tumble the gears and it's got a coating on them, polishes up the gears real nice. It takes the stress risers out of it. We'll do some cryo treatment to the transmission internals to take that bigger horsepower. As you know, in today's world, you can pick up the phone and order 1,000 horsepower, no problem.
Yes.
I mean, it's right at your fingertips now. Crate engines, turbos, superchargers, especially with the LS engine craze, and LT engines, Coyote motors. It's amazing what kind of power you can, and Hellcats that you can pump out of these engines now. So we have prepared our transmission lines to handle those bigger power engine options, stuff like that. So, like I said, we can set you up with if you just got a 5.3 or a 302 Ford, or 400 horsepower in a Mustang. We can put a T5 in it, and you'll have a big grin on your face and drive it forever. You put a Coyote in a Mustang, and it's got a Whipple on it, and it's making 1,000 horse. We can set you up with a package to for that too. So we literally can. It's cliche to say, but we can do from mild to wild, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
we cover the whole range of banging through gears. So
Very cool. So is there a product that you're most excited about right now?
I would say probably our transmission kit still. This, we just came out with the late model Chevy truck, and I say late model like 99 to '06. Chevy
Okay.
truck is the new kit we just come out with, so that was pretty cool. It gets me excited to see like a Chevy truck from the 2000s with a stick in it. And I know some of those had them, but like all most of those all had an LS engine in it from factory, right? So to take a two-wheel drive Chevy truck and put a six-speed in it, we bought a shop truck last year. It's a 2000 model truck. A lot of people, it's a GMT 800 series or NBS. A lot of the forum guys will call it. There's the OBS and then the NBS and the GMT 400 and the GMT 800, all that nomenclature, but it's basically the 99 and up Chevy trucks.
Okay.
And we just come out with a 5 and 6 speed kit for that, so that's got me. It's pretty exciting to have that. Um, we've got a pedal kit for it that Malwood makes for us, and it's just neat to bolt, take the automatic out, take the automatic pedal out, bolt that in there, and turn it into a stick overnight. And it's just the level of fun goes up now from a boring pickup truck to get plywood to now you're like, man, I can chirp the tires on this thing going to Home Depot or maybe do a donut, safely, legally somewhere, back of
Yes.
Home Depot parking lot or whatever, But yeah, it's a neat, that gets me excited. All the new stuff we do or a new car, or we bring in something new in the shop, like we did the third gen Camaro a couple of years ago. We brought in the 2010 Camaros that they have a factory 6 speed with a big linkage on it, and Tremec come out with what's called a Magnum XL. It's a longer tail housing 6 speed that bolts in its place and gets rid of all that linkage. Having that kind of like changing, swapping out into a late model car like that is kind of neat. So I really like getting involved in some of the newer cars and doing some conversions on them. They're a little more challenging with the electronics and things like that, but that gets me excited to work on some of that stuff.
Yes, and I feel your last two answers have kind of already answered this question that I have is what sets American Powertrain apart from other companies in this industry? And it's really the option to be totally customizable with what you're doing.
Yeah, we pride ourselves in, um, we have like the In and Out Burger secret menu, right? We can build you whatever you want. You just tell us what you want. If we have it within our means, we can do it. So yeah, we can. It kind of makes it hard to, especially with your website. Like there's a million options, right? Like we have a lot of debate on how many more options can we add to the product page for a transmission kit. Well, it's almost limitless, and we not only do we sell transmission kits, but a lot of guys call us and say, hey, I need a rear end. And so, hey, we started working with Curry. Now we got Curry 9-inch rear ends. A lot of guys say, I need a crate engine. We started working with Blueprint. Now we offer Blueprint engines. Some of our competition doesn't go that far to offer something, they don't, and I understand why, it's a hassle. You want to focus on what you do, but at the same time, a customer's on, especially some of our shop business that a lot of shops just like to pick up the phone and talk to one guy. I need an engine, I need a rear end, I need a transmission. Like, here's my drivetrain. And my sales guys have a lot of experience with all those parts and they know kind of what fits together and what works, what gear ratio rear end you need, what's a good engine setup, a clutch setup. This transmission will fit in that car. I know that motor will bolt in. So having kind of those extra parts options, while a pain, makes it easier on the consumer, and we make a little more money selling some of that stuff. While I've got, he's got his credit card out and he wants to buy an engine, we're going to make it happen for him. So,
Yes, you're kind
and
of the
we'll do the
one-stop
legwork.
shop.
Sometimes, yeah, and a lot of times they'll email and say, hey, I'll use Josh, one of my sales guys. Josh, I need an engine. I need a I want a 9 inch, and I want it to hold 1,000 horsepower. And Josh will spend the next 45 minutes to an hour going out and doing all that research and getting his list of parts ready to go, and calls him up and gives him, here's your one total, and guy's like,
Yes.
all right, cool. And he's got one person to deal with, one person to yell at, right? If all goes
Yes.
wrong.
And it's easy to decide who it is.
Well, and yeah, and that's our thing. It's like customer service. Again, it goes back to being you're part of the team at that shop.
Yeah.
You're
Buying
you're
from
part of the
people.
build team. Yeah, so it's people buying from people again. We just want to be able to offer that to our customers, and I think that kind of sets us apart from some of our competition. And we've got some great competitors. We actually work with some of our competitors on parts and stuff like that, and you know, everybody chooses their own path, how their business wants to go, and this is just kind of how we've done ours. So
For sure. Yes. And that's very obvious in the way you talk about what you do. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah, we take pride in that, and kind of being the you can call us for just about anything. We'll try to figure it out. We'll try to help you. We even sell automatics from Gearstar too, so we're not all just manuals. So you know there are some people that need automatics, and we have that option available. And we've been working with Gearstar for a couple of years now, and they're a great company to work with. So we just let them handle that. We'll take the
Yeah.
order and hand it to them, and they're kind of like us with manuals with automatics. They do the whole thing front to rear. So it's been, again, having great partners, building relationships up with suppliers, vendors, and customers, and it's all about spinning all these plates and keeping it all going, right? So it's a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And to look at it from a wider perspective, is there something that you think the automotive industry could do better?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I don't know. Um, Everything could be better, right? I don't know if is it like, are you talking about maybe the car manufacturers or the aftermarket industry or both?
Let's focus on the
You know,
aftermarket.
aftermarket. I think we should really focus on. I'm all about building parts in America. That's kind. I think we should kind of get some of that back. I realize that's not so easy to do now once the cat's out of the bag, but I try to focus on how can we help do more things here, right? Not only from a quality control standpoint, just having it nearby and closer helps, but I think I don't know what the industry can do per se to kind of keep that internally more. Um, I think there's more room to work in that area to more made in the USA focus. At the same time, you know there are a lot of other countries that can build products better than anyone else, and you shouldn't turn your back on that either. But I do think I've watched a lot of really good American companies just disappear overnight into some other country, and it's just a brand, and it's
Yeah.
it's kind of sad. And in most cases, it's not the country's fault; it's the people that took that brand and did that with it. So I'm not blaming like, oh, other countries, and we need to. A lot of that is just corporate America. They have to make some of these decisions, and I get it. Um, so just stuff like that. Like, what can we do to kind of keep doing more stuff for the car industry here? I think there's some media stuff that I wish was still. The media landscape has changed a lot, and I wish some of that would. I'm an old fuddy duddy that still likes car magazines, and you know, I realize that's gone. It's gone. There's still some out there, but anybody 10 years younger than me does not even care about magazines. It really is a thing. Like, it's like I thought more younger people would read magazines, but I was wrong. So it makes me sad to see some of that stuff going away, and I don't know what we can do to slow it down. You've got YouTube, which has been it's a great resource. It's a great way we promote our company too. You know, it's hard to argue with it, right? It's changed marketing. YouTube has changed marketing. Social media has changed marketing. It's changed products. It's changed companies.
For sure. Yes.
I don't know if there's any guardrails that we can do anymore, but it's kind of the same thing. It's like once the cat's out of the bag, you can't stop it. I guess I'm just kind of romanticized about the old days. It's we all do, right? It's like
Yeah.
nostalgic. You kind of miss some of that, but you also have to keep up with the times. And again, like I said, I wish for some of that stuff to come back. I wish for more parts were made in America, and I wish we can do something to kind of curb that, or even just emphasize it on it more as an aftermarket industry. How do we kind of get our arms around that some more without you know losing the whole side of the whole thing at the same time either.
Yes.
But again, there's a lot of decisions that have to be made when you go overseas or have things made like that, and not all of them are easy to make, and a lot of them make a lot of sense to have that done there. But it's just kind of a pride thing, being a car guy here
Yeah.
in the States. You want to make all the parts here for that Camaro or whatever. We try to do that as much as we can,
Yes.
at
And
least
it's
North
fun.
America.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not a like, oh, let's all make it all in America no matter what. But
You recognize it
it's
can't
just
always be that way.
yeah. And as someone who has gone through it and watched their company go overnight away for that very reason, it's got a it's still a part of me that hurt about that. To see that happen. 900 people down to 200 people in just a handful of years because of that. So it was a big effect on my career, my life, and it's just kind of one of those things that. And I've been to overseas. I've gone overseas to help source parts. I've done it. I'm not going to lie about it. It's part of it, right? And it's just we all have
Yes.
to face that, because sometimes there's no other options. I'd like to see more of that come back someday. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yes. And with the nostalgia factor and thinking about how you got your start in this industry, today, if you were to give advice to someone who wants to come into automotive, what would you tell them?
Learn as much about cars as you possibly can, because one of the worst things is if you don't know what you're selling, you're not going to sell it. So if you're here to sell, if you're going to sell car parts, you better know the parts and you better know the cars, because this this industry will eat you alive if you don't. So,
Yes.
and trust me when I say this, I don't know everything about cars. We're always learning, right? There's always
Yeah.
something new to
That's
learn.
my favorite part.
It's me too. I'm always fascinated. I'm not an electric car hater. They fascinate me. I appreciate the technology. I do realize that probably will end my career down the road with selling manual transmissions. It'll be more of a, it's a hobby. Right now we're still in a hobby thing, but I like technology. I like new things. I'm always interested in the latest car, like especially like the supercars with the hybrid. You got the electric motors are not there for efficiency; they're there for performance, and kind of adding that into the mix with internal combustion is pretty neat. And I like seeing, the DCT stuff's pretty cool. Computer controlled transmissions. We do sequential conversions on some of our Tremix. They're not cheap. An average sequential gearbox is about 25 grand that we do. But the technology behind it's pretty cool. So it's like I like to stay on top of it and really get my hands around it and kind of study it, and that way I can talk about the product. Because if you're going to spend 25 grand on a transmission, I better know what the hell I'm talking about to sell that to you.
Right.
So that kind of stuff is pretty cool. I like to be, I like going to PRI and seeing what the new, we saw these compressor powered turbos, like with compressed air. And I'm like, whoa, like,
Yeah.
and it's all computer controlled like nitrous, and, just, it's kind of mind blowing. Like, it's like, I don't have enough room in my brain to get all this stuff in there, but if it's going to affect my side of the industry, I'm going to learn as much about it as I can. I really try to stay on top of the trends as much as possible. And I just like it. Whether I'm working here or not, I just like it. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I love Formula One. Formula One to me is like the pinnacle of automotive racing. There is limitless budget, mostly. you look at the Formula One engine program, they have more budget than NASA does or SpaceX now for their rocket program.
That's
It's like,
incredible.
whoa, just to win races, right? For
Yeah.
nothing. It doesn't further society. It's like, it's just a win. It's just a bragging rights thing to win a race.
Yeah.
So that to me, I've always just been fascinated with that, like the carbon fiber and all the flexible suspension and aerodynamics and how does that trickle down into so many things from Formula One have trickled down into cars. Like look at the Hondas over the years. VTEC. The Honda VTEC came from Honda F1, the variable valve technology. And now that's in every car has some kind of variable valve technology, right? That
Yeah.
all came from being competitive in racing. So going fast and modifying your car still trickles down into everyday vehicles. So it's just kind of a neat, you know, just keeping up with that stuff's pretty cool. I know I bore my family with it sometimes because I got a bunch of girls here that aren't really into cars. It's great to have women in cars. Don't get me wrong, but people that aren't into cars are not into cars. So it's like when you're trying to have a conversation with someone that's not a car person, and you're like, hey, is there somebody else here I can talk to? You know what I mean? So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm telling my wife about, oh man, I saw this cool video the other day, and she's yawning. So I
I
get
was
it.
even just trying to explain to my girlfriends, like, they don't understand that my 49 Chevy doesn't have power steering. And they're like,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
steer it. And I'm like, but in new cars, it's assisted. Like,
yeah.
I'm
We're
physically
electric.
turning the
Yeah,
wheels.
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, and it's cool. See, it's an analog thing, right? You have to do it yourself. It takes more effort, and you got to think about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, People are falling asleep in these autonomous cars reading a book. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I taught both my daughters how to drive a stick. Now, is that something they want to do? Is that the kind of car they want to drive every day? No, but I wanted them to learn the dynamics of it, right? So I have an old like '97 Nissan hardbody pickup truck. It's got a 5 speed in it. Got probably the lightest clutch in the world. It's really super easy to learn to drive a stick in. And I figured out the way to teach a teenager to drive stick is on a gravel road, because when they dump the clutch all of a sudden, because they're just going to dump the clutch and kill the car, if they're on gravel, the tires will spin. And in most cases, they can feel that spinning and kind of get a sensation of throttle input and clutch release because the tires are spinning in the gravel. It also keeps daddy from having to buy new tires or clutches as they're learning to drive a stick because they have the gravel
Yeah.
to absorb the abuse. So I've told a few of my friends, like, hey, if you're going to teach your kid to drive a stick, find a gravel road. And I'm, oh man, that was the right trick. It just kind of came to me like, try this on a gravel road. And it kind of built their confidence up. They'd spin gravel and kind of keep going. And now they're like, I could drive a car with a stick. It doesn't scare me no more. So there's
Yes.
still some moments when, my youngest daughter will be 15 tomorrow. So she's learning to drive now. I've been kind of taking her over to the school and driving around the parking lot. And she's drove around the yard in my truck. And she's said she wants to drive that truck some more with the stick in it. Kind of. My oldest daughter's like, "Yep, I did it. I'm good. I know how to drive it. I like my Xterra that's an automatic." Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I get it. But the one thing a manual car will do is keep them off their phone because your hands are full, right? You're having to
Yeah.
drive, and you don't have time to look over and text, and you've got it makes you more aware of what you're doing, where you're going, right?
Yes.
There's a lot more interaction with the car. Yeah, so it's I really suggest if you've got a teenager, if you can find one, teach them how to drive with a stick. They don't have to that daily car, but it is nice to know. I mean, what if you get in a situation where you need to jump in a car and it's got a stick and you don't know what you're doing, right?
I agree
Just to be able
completely.
to drive that car. I remember my stepdad had this big Ford F-250, like 3/4 ton, whatever truck, and it had a four speed in it with this like giant heavy clutch, right? That's what he taught. That was the first thing I drove was that thing,
Oh my
and I
gosh.
was sweating trying to drive this truck, right?
I
It
believe
had
it.
manual steering, 4 speed. It was a big block four, like a, I don't know, 460 Ford in it. And we went to the biggest hill in town at a red light. And he's like, all right, don't hit the car behind you. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, how can I drive this truck without rolling into someone behind me, right? And so it was
Yep, you're
just,
gonna learn.
I learned quick, you know. Yeah. I wasn't that brutal with my children, but yeah, it kind of taught me real quick how to like, you know, and every car at that point from I've had a manual car in my life ever since. You know, I've got
Yes.
two out there, two outside right now that are both sticks. So my Cadillac and I've got my little Nissan truck, and we've had all kind. I've had Fox body Mustangs and RX-7s and Hondas and Miatas, and all have sticks in them over the years.
Yes. They are so much
Yeah.
fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Well, so speaking about cars, do you have a favorite car project you've ever worked on?
Probably my Cadillac has been my favorite.
The chicken coop.
Yes. I have a 1983 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. No, that car never came with a stick, but I was determined to make it a stick. And it was kind of one of those things like a challenge. Like, okay, we sell all these transmission kits for Mustangs and Camaro, all the muscle cars, no brainer. But if we can put a stick in your 83 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, that means we can handle it. Anything else, no problem, right? So
Absolutely.
I kind of use it as like a calling card for what we can do. Like, but also for myself, like I just wanted something different. You know, I just want to kind of, I like to stand out from the crowd a little bit with some of the projects I've done over the years. And I had this one in the back of my mind for when I was at Cherry Bomb, actually, to build a, you know, my cousin, or my cousin, one of my good friends, his grandmother had this two-door 80s model Cadillac in her barn for years, and we would walk by that car going, we ought to break that thing out and like make it a dirt track car, just something, like a burnout car, put it, LS swap it or whatever. And I got to sketching things around one night. It was like, what if we LS swapped it and made it more of a pro touring car? You know, like that would just fry everybody's brains, right? And I got the, I actually found another Cadillac at the time, probably a couple of years after I started working here. And we were raising two small kids at the time. I took the car all apart and it never went anywhere. I still got the car all apart. Still got it. Well, fast forward to the pandemic. All my buddies knew about the chicken coop project that I had mass parts. I had a 9-inch rear end ready for it. I had a 427 LS ready for it, sitting here for 10 years. And Jeff Lee, our good buddy Jeff Lee that we know, he got tired of me sitting around not getting this done, and he collaborated with some of my other friends, and they went and found me an 83 Coupe de Ville, intact, fully intact car without an engine, really nice shape, and gave it to me. Like right when the pandemic started. Like this is all right around when it started. So if you want to be motivated to build something, when your friends go and buy you a car and tell you to get it done, you get it done. So
Yes.
when they go through that trouble, they make that kind of effort for you and buy you a car to get you off your rear end and get it done. I got it done. So I got the car finished in 2022, and we took it on Power Tour that year. Or was it 21? I can't even remember now. We took it on Power Tour that year for the first time ever, and it was amazing. And the reaction from everybody was so cool in that car. I had QA1 got involved with me. We did a full QA1 suspension on it, bare brakes. So here's this $1,000 body car, and we made a full pro touring car. We put a 6-speed Tremec in it. I had to cut the tunnel. I had to come up with a clutch pedal, cross member for it. So basically, that car is like a Caprice. Like if you got a box Caprice,
Okay.
it's kind of the same car, same B body chassis. This one's technically a C body, so it's an 11-inch longer B body, but all the parts fit the same. So QA1 had a B body pro touring suspension, all tubular front and rear, full Curry 9-inch in the back, 14-inch bare brakes all the way around. It's just crazy when you see the car. Like even to this day, when I look at it, I'm like, it so doesn't make sense.
So cool.
You
Yeah.
know, it's a grandma Cadillac, and I live pretty close to the Dragon, Deals Gap 129. So it's kind of a famous motorcycle road here in the Smokies. I'm like a 15-minute drive from the start of it. And I take that car up there a lot and run through the mountain with it. And there's this gas station down at the end called Tail of the Dragon. And I'll go down there and park, and there'll be like McLarens or Ferraris, Porsches, all these supercars sitting there. And I get out and park and go inside, get something to drink. And every time I do that, those guys that drive those cars are all around my Cadillac looking at it.
I
And they're
believe it.
just like, what is this? And like looking at the brakes, so looking at the engine and the manual transmission, they just can't believe it, right? And there's like, and I'm like, and I can't outrun those guys. No way. I mean, it's a giant brick, but I can keep a lot of those cars in my line of sight going through there, and it's pretty, then it's impressive how how good that car can be. Just goes to show you the aftermarket. I mean, you can take pretty much anything out there, and especially with a GM car or Ford, the DNA, you can swap some of this stuff out. So this is pretty fun. I finally got to call in all my favors over the years, right, and build
Yeah,
me a car.
right.
So it's one of those like, do to finally get my own. I sit on the sidelines for years while everybody else is building their cars while I was working, building up a brand and
Yes.
trying to get things going. So
But it finally
it's cool
came
to
full
have my
circle.
yeah, yeah. And I'm actually gonna actually like I didn't do a lot to it this year. I got it running and driving the last couple of years, and I had some engine trouble with it last year. And this year I decided I'm just gonna drive it. I'm not gonna do any more modifications right now and just enjoy it. So we did Power Tour this year with it, and I'm planning on taking on some more trips this coming year. And now I've got vintage air in it, and
Nice.
it's a lot quieter. It's comfortable. My wife likes to ride in it now because she doesn't smell like gasoline when she gets in it. So just sorting your car, you know how it is. You got to keep sorting it out. I was with
Yes.
you trying to sort out some of your car stuff on Power Tour, so I know what it's like.
Yeah, I know it too well as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Well, Matt, it has been great talking to you. So, where can people find your products, or if they want to learn even more about American Powertrain, where can they go?
Yeah, you just go to AmericanPowertrain.com, or you can go to at American Powertrain on Instagram or Facebook. We have a TikTok and YouTube channel as well. Or you can call us at 931-646-4836. Operators are standing by to take your transmission order.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. It was great talking with you.
Great talking to you too, Melanie. Thank you for the time. We appreciate it.